Welcome to another episode of Stick Shift Stories. In today's episode, we want to answer one simple question. Is the XJ Jeep Cherokee any good? Watch this complete buyer's guide to find out. The history of the XJ starts in the late 1970s with market research being performed by AMC. Their research led them to believe that the future lay in compact SUVs or Sportwagons. With this information, AMC funded the development of the XJ program by infusing $250 million into the design and production of the then new XJ Cherokee and Wagoneer Sportswagons. Preliminary design sketches of the XJ date all the way back to 1978. A team of AMC and Renault engineers drew sketches and made clay models that were based on the then current SJ Cherokee. Development commenced with the introduction of the all-new XJ series in 1984. Immediately after being introduced, the Cherokee won 4x4 of the Year awards by 3 primary off-road magazines. Built with an unconventional, for the time, unibody frame, the XJ was 21 inches shorter, 6 inches narrower, 4 inches lower, and 1,000 pounds lighter than the full-size Wagoneer SJ. The XJ does have a slight European feel due to the collaboration AMC engineers had with Renault, a French car maker, with the development of the XJ. The Jeep Cherokee was the definition of functional design. The look of the XJ was very utilitarian and purposeful, but it all served a function and had a lot of intentionality built into the design. With huge planes of glass, drivers had a clear view of what was in front of them, and the forward, side, and rear visibility was superb. The familiar grille, squared-off wheel arches, and bulldog stance were very nice touches. Simply put, you weren't going to mistake this SUV for anything other than a Jeep. The XJ was offered in 2-door and 4-door versions throughout its lifetime, with both having the same track and wheelbase measurements. Differences for the 2-door models included larger doors and seats in the front that could fold forward to aid rear passenger entry and exit. Additionally, the 2-door had longer rear windows that did not open, with some of them featuring an optional rear window vent. The XJ was the first compact sport utility vehicle to offer a 5-door body style, basically inventing the segment. The look of the Cherokee was updated for the 1997 model year to enhance the strengths of the original design. The front grille, front fascia, and the bumpers were new and updated. Body side moldings were now more fluid, and the wheel arches flowed into the front and rear bumpers. A new stamped steel liftgate had hidden hinges and a new outside handle. The taillights were new with a more rounded look, and the front doors had a single pane of glass and enlarged mirrors. Alloy wheels were also revised. Like any used vehicle, if you're looking to purchase a second-hand Jeep XJ, there are some things to be mindful of when it comes to the exterior. The first thing is rust. And even though rust affects all vehicles, for the XJ, the main areas to look include the rocker panels, anywhere where the metal is stamped and welded together. Also, it includes the wheel arches, especially behind the moldings and on the inner wheel arches. You should also take a look at the bottom of the doors to make sure they're not rusty, and the front and rear bumpers. Also, be mindful of shoddy repairs that people have done just to quickly sell the vehicle. Make sure to inspect the HVAC drain hose and the box foam seal that attaches to the firewall. If either one of these have broken down or are plugged up, you could get a wet interior, or water could be going into the vehicle, causing a lot of rust to occur without you even knowing it. Due to time and age, the windshield and door seals can break down, allowing water to get inside the vehicle or rust the surrounding metal pieces. The interior of the XJ Jeep was well designed and was competitive when compared to its rivals. And even though the exterior dimensions of the XJ were much smaller than the previous SJ generation, the interior still boasted 90% of the space found in the SJ. The overall look of the 1986 through 96 dash was decent with a large but easy to use center dash area. The climate and radio controls were within easy reach, and all of the gauges and buttons were well marked and easy to operate. The seats were comfortable, but larger or taller passengers may find them a little tight. Some of my favorite features include the 3-spoke steering wheel and the comprehensive set of gauges that were available with some models. Starting with the 1997 model year, the interior received a facelift. Included now was a passenger and driver's side airbag with increased sound insulation in the interior to reduce wind noise levels. A new central dashboard panel housed the climate controls and the radio, which received new designs. Installed were lighted power mirrors and power window switches, and a new overhead console that contained a large storage compartment. Additionally, you could get things like a 5-function trip computer and a revised center console that now housed cup holders. Some interior problems that you can run into include seat brackets that can break. You can re-weld or add a repair patch panel, but the best bet is to find a set of used XJ seats. Note that seats made before 95 and after 95 have different brackets. If you have a 95 or newer XJ Jeep, you can use Jeep ZJ or WJ seats as a simple swap. The tilt steering column can break or become loose over time and by people pulling on it to use it as a handle to climb inside. One fix is to remove the knee panel to access 2 bolts that hold the column to the dash. In addition, there are 2 bolts that hold it to the floor and one at the steering box. The blend door actuator can fail to work properly, only outputting hot or cold air through the vents. This can be due to a faulty blend door or a loose cable that adjusts the settings for the door. You can tighten the cable or secure it to ensure that the door works properly only if the cable is loose. The heater core can leak or stop working properly. This will require a full removal of the dashboard to access and to replace the faulty core. Note that this can be a pretty expensive fix. The XJ Cherokee was available with a wide variety of engine choices throughout its timeline. Early Cherokees could be optioned with an 85 horsepower Renault-sourced 2.1-liter turbo diesel 4 for the 86 and 87 model years. And though it didn't make much power, it was the fuel miser's choice as it had the best miles per gallon. The base engine was usually AMC's new 2.5-liter overhead valve 4 that was based on existing AMC 6-cylinder architecture but heavily revised. The subsequent 4-liter Jeep 6 was a modified version of the 2.5-liter 4 with 2 more cylinders added. The 4-cylinder started life with 105 horsepower and a carburetor, and later developments like fuel injection and other enhancements made the engine make up to 130 horsepower. The 2.5-liter 4 has a reputation for being a tough and durable unit, and they've been known to run up an impressive number of miles. Another optional early engine choice was the Chevrolet 60-degree 2.8-liter V6 engine rated at 115 horsepower. This was a suitable engine for the Cherokee since its engine compartment was designed for compact, short engines and not big inline engines. The Chevy V6 ran smoother than the somewhat rough 2.5-liter 4, but the early 2.8-liter Chevy engines were inconsistently built and the quality suffered as a result. They were prone to rear main seal leaks and used an expensive electronically controlled carburetor that was problematic and needed proactive replacement. Now, fitting the 4-liter straight 6 into the XJ required modifying it to be able to accommodate it. This included modifying the whole front radiator support structure and notching out space for the new engine. It was essentially a heavily reworked AMC 258-6, now with 4 liters, and the engine sported fuel injection with early versions using the Renault-sourced Renix system, while in 1991, the high-output version produced 190 horsepower. And for 1987, the Cherokee 4.0-liter was a lot faster than a lot of cars out there, being able to accelerate to 60 in under 10 seconds. For 2000 and the 2001 model years, All 6-cylinder XJs received a distributorless ignition system using coil-on plug ignition, replacing the system previously used. And when you added the better exhaust porting and newer intake manifolds, it gave the engine a minor increase in power over the previous years. Looking at this list here, you can see all of the different transmission options available with the JK. There was a wide variety of manual and automatic options available based on engine and configuration. The front axles included Dana 30 units, and for the rear-wheel drive models, they had straight, non-driven front axles. For the rear axles, you had variations of the Dana 35 and Dana 44 available, and some Chrysler rear ends as well. The axle gear ratios were also varied depending on engine and transmission combo, and sometimes if the vehicle had a tow or off-road package. Check for cracked cylinder heads. XJ Jeeps with a 4.0 liter engine came with 7120, 0630, and 0331 heads, with cracks mostly seen on the 0630 and especially the 0331 cylinder head castings. Late 99 to mid 2001 are the top crackers, with the 2000 to 2001 model years being the most susceptible. The 2000 to 2001 came with the factory with the infamous 0331 cylinder head, which was known to potentially have a casting defect between cylinders 3 and 4, making it suspect to cracking there. Some possible symptoms include unexplained coolant loss, oil pressure that may go down after starting or warming up the engine, no heat, low coolant, poor idle, misfires, and the check engine light being illuminated. Some possible causes include overheating, lack of maintenance, and low coolant. You'll want to make sure that you check all the coolant hoses, the fans, and the thermostat often and flush the coolant regularly if you do buy one of these newer XJs. Another thing that you might run into is cracked exhaust manifolds. This usually happens at one or two specific points, but it's a good idea to look at all of the exhaust carefully. Fuel pump check valves can go bad as well. That'll cause the 4-liter straight 6 to start hard in the morning or after an afternoon of sitting for extended periods. You could remedy this by replacing the fuel pump or by installing a BMW-style check valve. The XJ Cherokee broke convention by not having a body-on-frame design. Instead, it utilized Jeep's uniframe construction, which was a welding of the frame to the body shell to create one solid but rugged unit. And when combined with the quadrolink front suspension, which had a solid front axle and 4 locating arms with coil springs, it gave the Jeep a lot of prowess off the road, but it still gave it a smoothness on the road that was appreciated by a lot of consumers. The XJ uses a rear leaf spring suspension, with each leaf pack containing 4 leaf springs with a fixed eye at the front of the spring and a compression-style shackle at the rear of the spring. The XJ could be available with rear-wheel drive, a part-time command track 4-wheel drive system, or the select track full-time 4-wheel drive. Watch out for the Jeep death wobble, which is usually caused by a loose or worn-out track bar or the track bar bushing. And once a vehicle has the death wobble, it'll only get worse unless you fix it, because the lower track bar hole gets bigger and it allows the track bar to move back and forth within that bigger hole more easily. After all of this information, what's my verdict on the Jeep Cherokee XJ? Well, I give it a 9 out of 10 burnouts. It's a great SUV with great engines, great off-road capability, and a simplicity that just isn't found in newer vehicles. Thanks so much for watching. Please hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you for the next video.